it's me again, and Happy New Year. It's 10:45 New Year's Eve where I am right now. So some of you are already in the future of 2022, and by the time you see this, more of you will be in the future of 2022. So let's discuss some of the last news of 2021. Last night, as I was going to bed, CEO of Metamaterials, George Pallikaris, tweets this. A cryptic tweet about Back to the Future. One of my favorite trilogy movies. Well, it's pretty good. I like it. It's not, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's as good as Lord of the Rings, but it's pretty good. Better than most. At the time, when they filmed movies 2 and 3, that was together, and that was like a first at then. Like, yeah, this is going to be a planned trilogy now at this point, and we're going to film part 2 and part 3 together. Also, the guy who played Biff did his own stunts, which is awesome. And Crispin Glover did not return to part 2 because he's a hard actor to work with. Say hi to your mom for me. So George tweets about 1.21 gigawatts, which in the movie is called the gigawatt because nobody really knew how to say gigawatt at the time. They were like, what's and so GI is either J, a soft G, or a G. For example, G. Girl. I have to teach this all the time, by the way. I used to teach this. Girl. Gift. That's why some people call that GIF format a GIF and not a GIF, because just because you had a T on something, does that change the first pronunciation? Find another case of that, right? So, girl, gift, but there's also like ginger. Giraffe. So naturally the actors thought it was gigawatts and not gigawatts because there's more J than G instances of GI. Fun little factoid about the movie. But he tweets 1.21 gigawatts of power, and the DeLorean has to reach 88 miles per hour for the temporal time displacement. However, he does not talk about the flux capacitor, and it was always my like understanding that the 88 miles an hour is when the actual physical unit of the time machine reached the frequency oscillation of the flux capacitor when it discharged. Hence, that's when the temporal displacement took place. But that's just a fun little made up story. But that's how I saw it, and that's why I tweeted at him. Also, watts equals volts times amps. So 1.21 gigawatts would be a lot of volts and a lot of amps. Giga also means billion. So you have kilo, right? Like kilohertz, kilowatts, which is 1,000. Mega means million, like mega millions. Mega means million. Like a megawatt or a megahertz. Like that's in hertz, which is an oscillation. Like you're resting some people's heartbeat at 1 hertz, which is 1 cycle per second. That's a cycle per second. A hertz. Megahertz would be a million. And then after that you have a giga, which is a billion. So those are your prefixes. So 1.21 gigawatts is 1.21 billion watts. That's a lot of power. Watts equals volts times amps. Fun little, I guess, if you're an electrician, fun little fact. Okay, so George tweets this and the 88, and he hashtags a bunch of stuff. And then he talks about the Tesla batteries and the big, huge Tesla battery packs. The CFO of Metamaterials, Ken Rice, has discussed battery technology and metamaterials before. That has been discussed before at the company. Does this mean a contract with Tesla? No, it doesn't. It doesn't necessarily mean that. What does stick out to me, and this is like, is this purpose or is this a coincidence? That 1.21, because January 21st is when the MMTLP options expire. 1.21 is when the options expire. So what also sticks out to me is 88, and not what you think it is. Not what you think it is. So George historically before has tweeted palindromes. What's a palindrome? Palindrome is something forwards and backwards. For example, a fun little palindrome was 2002. It's the same forwards and backwards. Race car is a palindrome. R-A-C-E-C-A-R. R-A-C-E-C-A-R. Forwards and backwards is called palindrome. So 2002 is a palindrome. Race car is a palindrome. George has tweeted other palindromes before. 121 is a palindrome. Somebody also said, oh, kudos to you, the Oracles. The Oracles is my friend. Sometimes he comments here. Oracles has spoken. 1.21 is also the date that the DeLorean was rolled out. Was on January 21st is when the DeLorean came out. Fun fact. So there's a lot of January 21st here. It's when the MMTLP options expire. It's when, it's a palindrome. And it's when the DeLorean came out. Coincidentally, that was the power of DeLorean. Now, is that what they based it on? Because 121, they said gigawatts, because the DeLorean was released that day and they decided to use a DeLorean? That's a lot of questions. It's a lot of questions. I also wanted to believe that, like, the stainless steel body of the DeLorean created, like, a more type of Faraday cage. But who knows? It could have just been all style. So that's called a palindrome. 88 can also be considered a palindrome. I mean, it's the same forwards and backwards. George has tweeted again, what was it? It was like late October, early November, before earnings came out. He kept tweeting 2 and 4. And a lot of people mistook this as November 24th. But 2-4 can also be 2 4s, as in the palindrome 2 4s. Which is half of 88. That doesn't really mean much. Some people are trying to spread the rumor that the dividend will be $88. I don't personally see the math for that. But I'm not gonna protest it if it is $88. But I'm not seeing the math for that. Again, my math is 29 to 46. That palindrome of 44, though, does fit in this range. Something to keep in mind. But George does like to tweet about palindromes, and if you search his history, you can find quite a bit of palindromes in his tweets. So, is this a play? Does it mean anything? I don't know. Is he trying to find somebody who can find all the palindromes in his tweets? I'm not sure. But palindromes are something that really stick out with me. So, like I said, the 2 4s from October, late October, early November, would signal, people thought it was November 24th, but it could have been 44, which is half of 88. One half of a wavelength of whatever. I don't know what you want to antenna. George is an antenna guy, so you could do a 1/2 wavelength antenna. George, what kind of wavelength are we talking about? There's lots of 1/2 wavelength antennas out there. If you're into ham radio, there's a lot of 2 meter 1/2 wavelengths out there. I have a 5/8. I usually go with a 5/8 wavelength antenna on my vehicle, but there are 1/2 wavelength antennas out there. So I'm curious, like, if that's anything. It could be nothing. But that 44 kind of fits in. I'm not saying that the dividend's going to be that. Again, guys, I have my range. And, if it's 44, I'll be elated. But, 29 to 46, my personal number was $35.30. $35.34. Which sadly is not a palindrome. 3534 is not a palindrome. 3534 and backwards it'd be 4353. So sorry, it's not a palindrome. A palindrome would be 3553 though. That's a palindrome. So I don't know. It'd be funny if that was the dividend. And the dividend was also a palindrome. 3553. Go backwards 3553. So that'd be funny. And that's pretty close to 3534. I mean, that's only, a few cents off right there. Something fun to think about. Am I expecting any news today? No, I'm actually not expecting any news today. If we do get news about the drilling update, I would be happy with that, although I'm not expecting it. Will MMTLP stop trading today? That's another big rumor. I don't know. I want to say no to be cautious, but I don't know. Because here's an article from Fidelity that talks about options adjustments, option contracts adjustments, what you should know. There's certain events that can, of course, trigger the option contracts adjustments. Certain things can be adjusted. Deliverable, strike price, contract multiplier, and option symbol. So we've experienced this before with the merger and how options all of a sudden got attached dividends, but then when it went through a reverse split, instead of 100 shares with 100 dividend placeholders, it became 50 shares with 100 dividend placeholders, and that the price too got adjusted for that as well. But the deliverables is rather interesting, and I didn't learn about that one until earlier this week, actually. So I think I'm going to do a live show tonight after hours just to be fun, and I'm not expecting anything. The only thing I'm expecting is to be one day closer to that dividend. That's what I'm expecting today, is to be one day closer to that dividend. I'm not expecting any news. I expect news on the drilling very soon, though. News on the drilling lease compliance update very soon. And I checked University Lands this morning. There's no new updates in University Lands, but then again, things can get a little slower in University Lands. Like the Texas Railroad Commission, you'll see permits there first before you see University Lands permit. By the way, when the whole permits were filed, actually, we saw Texas Railroad Commission had the permits on there before University Lands. So University Lands isn't always as fast. We will see, though. Okay, guys, that's it for today. I hope you have a happy new year. I will try to be on live tonight after hours market. Probably about 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when people get off work. And we'll have some fun. We'll just be a lighthearted conversation. I'll answer some more questions. Okay, guys, I will see you soon. Goodbye.